And
At this time, sir, if you would state your name and DOC number.
Jerome B, 556268.
Okay, you're a third offender, aggravated assault, domestic abuse, simple kidnapping, aggravated assault, domestic abuse, and domestic abuse battery. You were sentenced on 3/26/2018, 2/7/18, and 2/11/19. You're sentenced to 5 years DOC, 2 years to be suspended, and 2 years and 6 months DOC. Your parole date is 2/11/2019 with a good time not eligible and a full term of 6/13/2021. On the panel today, and Ms. Pearl will be asking you some questions. You're assigned to Ms. Pearl Wise, will be Ms. Pearl Wise, Mr. Alvin Roche, and myself, Jim Wise. I'll be chairing. At this time, you would answer Ms. Pearl Wise.
good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Good, good. I see that. Explain to me, sir, all this violence.
I was really at a bad place in my life. I went through a lot of things, and I really was just at a bad place in my life.
Okay. So from 2016 to 2018, you stayed in a bad place in your life. Is that what you're
Yes.
telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
So what assurance can you give me today that you are no longer in that bad place?
While being incarcerated, I have found peace within myself, and I forgave myself for a lot of things that happened in my life and a lot of other people. And, I'm just in a whole better space right now.
Okay. Tell me some programs you've had.
I have anger management. I did reentry. I did parenting, living in balance. I did some drug classes. I did some, like psychiatric classes. I did reentry department with trying to get my resume worked out on Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholic Anonymous.
So tell me 3 things that you learned in anger management that you did not know before.
One, I learned how to, not use violence as an answer. I also learned how to, listen and not speak. Be quick to listen and slow to speak. I learned that, anger is a good emotion, but you have to learn how to control it. I learned how to control my emotions and my anger.
Oh, good. Sound like that class was well served. Well served.
Yes, ma'am.
I do see that you have a letter of recommendation from the food service manager.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
And what impresses me is that you had no problems following orders when given, and you complete your job test to the fullest. You hadn't had any kind of write-up, so that's commendable.
Yes, ma'am.
You on the steam killer. What's that about? What's that about?
I was on it. I'm a baker now. They changed me over to a baker, but I was cooking the food for the whole compound. I was in charge of cooking the food for the compound.
Oh, good, good. So now you are a baker. Okay. Yes, I'm just trying to reconcile who you were before you got locked up and who you are now. And education, you got your GED? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's an instrument that we use to determine your risk. And everywhere I look, and my colleagues need to look, I'm still showing them as high everywhere I look. Your Tiger score is high, so that's very concerning.
Yes,
that's very, very concerning. So going back to this to these charges from 16 and 18, they are all the same victim?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you guys legally married?
Yes, ma'am.
If I vote to let you out and tell you to have no contact with your wife, what would you say to that?
Well, me and her made an agreement. That's what we was planning on doing. We plan on working our marriage out, but we plan on staying separated a while till we really, decide on what we're gonna do. So
Do y'all have kids? Y'all have kids together?
no, ma'am.
Okay. So and looking at your history, contributing to the delinquency of a juvenile and disturbing the peace in 96, criminal damage to property, disturbing the peace, resisting an officer, another disturbing the peace. I mean, it just reads of a person that just did whatever he wanted to do. Aggravated assaults, disturbing the peace, as second-degree battery, domestic violence. Tell me about your sex offense in 2006.
I was like 20-some years old, and I had went on it wasn't like, it was somebody that was, I paid to have sex with, and I didn't rape them or nothing like that, but with their charge, and I told them what I was going to give them. And when I got ready to pay them, I had more money in my pocket, which the money wasn't for me. I was for somebody else, but what I was paying them, that's what I had. Everything wasn't in my pocket, was for me. And that's how everything started. I didn't, rape or nothing like that.
So what was the final charge? Because I don't see this in their records.
It was sexual battery or something like that.
Okay, because they charged you with aggravated rape, aggravated kidnapping, and or sexual battery.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
they didn't tell us what. I don't see here what the outcome was.
Yes, ma'am.
And how old are you today?
42.
And how long have you served?
Since 2016.
Okay. So you're saying that it wouldn't be a problem to order you to not have any contact with your victim in this offense because you guys don't plan on being together anyway.
We're not saying that we're not gonna be together. We're just not gonna be together, and we're gonna try to make our marriage work. But we're gonna live separate and try like that. We're not gonna live together no more right now until we really comfortable back with each other.
Okay. All righty. And Warden, one of the comments that came up is the domestic abuse battery treatment program. Is that available at DCI?
No, ma'am.
It's not available. All right. Okay. That's all I had, young man. Thank you.
Thank you.
I must listen to my colleagues because I'm having a hard time.
Mr. Roche.
Good morning, Mr. Boucher. How are you?
I'm all right.
Good. Ms. Pearl asked the one question I was going to ask, and I was going to ask Warden Booty, did he have the domestic abuse battery program at DCI? Because you're a loose cannon, and you need some training in domestic abuse battery. And I was going to recommend that because you have a full-time date in about 9 or 10 months.
Yes, sir.
And I wanted to get you some help because you need help.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
You have been arrested since 2001, 19 years, for everything under the sun: disturbing the peace, contributing to the delinquency of minor, sexual offenses, and every one of those involves some violence. And I just do not feel comfortable releasing you with the possibility that you might inflict that violence on your partner or someone else. And as Ms. Pearl said, I'm having problems too. Mr. Wise.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. At this time, I see the victim is here today, would like to speak. Ma'am, if you would unmute your and state your name.
Shalita Howard Bouget.
Okay. Anything that you'd like to say?
I just would like to say I have definitely seen and heard some great changes in Jerome over the past 2 years for sure. Releasing him to society wouldn't be a problem for me. We don't have any issues within ourselves anymore. In our marriage, we have over 20 years of history together, as knowing each other as friends and then becoming married. He was in a dark place in his life, and I think he's finally found peace with that. And I know his kids would love to see him home, and also his family, and so would I. I think he would do good if he was released. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much. Jerome, anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
I have a speech that I wrote. I would like to read it, but if that's all right with y'all.
Okay.
It starts off, a man that stands for nothing falls for anything, but a man that stands for something falls for many things. When I first came to prison, I needed to be here. I, Jerome B III, have taken full responsibility for my action and adding to the statistic with the problem of domestic violence, and for that I'm truly sorry. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Parole Board. To begin, I would like to say thank you for being here today and for the opportunity offered to me to plead my cause and for a chance to go home to my children and family, to be able to start life off the right way and live a productive life in my community. Before I start my speech, I have 2 quotes that I would like to read to you. I have found that these 2 quotes, along with the help of the God that I serve, will be what I am building my foundation on to help maintain my fresh start to life. The first quote is from a friend who was giving a speech in one of the self-help classes while I was attending. When I heard the quote, what he said stuck out to me so much that I will never forget it. He said, "It's easy to make a decision when you know what your values are," by Roy Disney. After he read this, I went to my dorm and sat down and made a list of my values, a list that shows who Mr. Bouger is and what I has to offer. 1, loyalty. 2, integrity. 3, honesty. 4, respect. 5, character. 6, responsibility. Now, all these are great values, and all these describe and tell the makeup of who I am. But the one that stands out and tells the most about me and who I am is integrity. With integrity, I am able to stand firm on what I believe and what I will do. But most importantly, I am able to stand firm on my word when I give it to someone. A man without a word is nothing. That is what I believe and stand on. The second quote I have on that is one that I read in the newspaper. It says, your actions and your values alone determine your work. Simply put, I know the values of Jerome and I know my work. All my actions now and my actions in the future will reflect my work and values. While I was here at DCI, I have learned a lot of lessons that will carry me further into my future life. I have learned to be a better man, husband, son, better father to my children. I have learned to be quick to listen, slow to speak. Also, I have learned how to resolve a problem without having to use violence as an answer. But the one of the most important lessons I have learned is that my work and value are far better understood now than I have learned to forgive myself while taking responsibility for my actions. My goal as a new man is to start a new organization called the Barrel of Water in the near future, a nonprofit organization which will help abused women and children around the community by helping them to find shelter. Different resources will be offered to help them become independent from their abusers and to help find peace and happiness somewhere else. A new chance at life like I was given. I also will be working to help fund this project to help take care of my kids and responsibilities. Most importantly, it will help keep me out of trouble. I have a piece of property that I plan to put a trailer on and work with one of the local women's shelters helping them. I owe a lot of people atonement for my past actions. I plan to be the solution to the problem and work hard every day to right my wrongs. So in closing, I want to thank you, the Parole Board, the staff at DCI, who spoke on my behalf, and I pray the opportunity to set my wrongs right. Once again, ladies and gentlemen of the Parole Board, thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, Jerome. At this time, no other questions. Ms. Pearl Wise will be voting.
Jerome, that is awesome. Well said. Jerome, I strongly encourage and urge you to hold on to that. That is a sacred document.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
That need to guide you for the rest of your life.
Yes, ma'am.
Make copies of that and keep that. That is awesome. I'm just blown away. I'm blown away at what's inside you now to amend what you've done. And I think it's the first time I've ever heard of that. But however, my decision today is based on you being able to stay out. I know for you, you're ready to get out. But my concern, my focus is staying out. And I see further than you probably would see. And I'm just not willing to take a chance on you. My vote is to deny because you have a high Tiger score, you have law enforcement opposition, and you have poor supervision history. But I do believe that when you get out, if you hold on to that letter and do even half of what you committed to do, you won't be back. Best wishes to you, sir, but my vote is to deny because I'm more interested in you staying out than getting out.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
At this time, Mr. Alvin Roche.
Mr. Boucher,
Yes, sir.
my vote is the same. Okay, and you have a full-time release date of June of 2021. It's about 9 months away. I want you to take that time, if you can, take another anger management course. Do all you can in the next 9 or 10 months to prepare yourself. If that statement is true, I think you'll be okay. But if you ever sit in that chair and you're sitting before me again and domestic abuse is involved, I will revoke whatever I have to do to keep you incarcerated. I will. If you ever come before me again and domestic abuse is involved. So prepare yourself well. So when you do get released, as Mrs. Wise said, I want you to stay a free person. Mr. Wise?
Okay, thank you very much. Today, I also vote to deny because of your poor criminal history, also your poor supervision history, and your history of violence. Also, with law enforcement opposition against your release. Board decision today was to deny your parole. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know. Sorry about fast forwarding. I my aggravation level is just through the roof, and I just couldn't listen to it anymore. You know, these sentencing guidelines in Louisiana, they just sometimes they blow my mind. Is it true he has a 5-year sentence for what he did? Let's listen again to what he's in for, okay?
Okay, you're a third offender, aggravated assault, domestic abuse, simple kidnapping, aggravated assault, domestic abuse, and domestic abuse battery. You were sentenced on 3/26/2018, 2/7/18, and 2/11/19. You're sentenced to 5 years DOC, 2 years to be suspended, and 2 years and 6 months DOC. Your parole date is 2/11/2019 with a good time not eligible and a full term of 6/13/2021. On the panel today, and Ms. Pearl will be asked.
You heard it right. You heard it right. All those violent offenses, sexual offenses, and he's listed as a tier 1 offender. He is out, and he gets 5 years with what, like 2.5 suspended? Are you kidding me? I don't know where they come up with this stuff, but it's just insane. If he had a possession, forget about it. Forget about it. And he's a 3rd-time felony offender. Make it make sense, Louisiana. Make it make sense. I like what Mr. O'Shea said. Yeah, I know he means every word of it. Now, if he does get revoked, we will see him here, and I hope that Mr. O'Shea is on the board. No, I hope that he is staying out of trouble as well. But when you get slapped under his sentences, we see that people just don't take things seriously. That's just my opinion. I just don't understand how they come up with the sentencing guidelines. I really don't. But let's show an example of another case. Where maybe someone gets a harsher sentence for doing something much less violent. Let's go see. Now here's a case. She's in for like possession charge. I don't know how much time she's serving. It might just be like 2 years, but I'll take a gander that she's probably serving more time than he is, but maybe I'm wrong and it'll be a little embarrassing. But anyways, it looks like an interesting case. I haven't watched it yet.
Yes, sir.
This is the matter of Alexandria Johnson, date of birth, April the 4th. Ms. Johnson is classified as a second offender. She is currently in prison on the charges of possession of methamphetamines and identity theft, having been sentenced on June the 3rd of 2021. Ms. Johnson, is all of that correct?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Johnson, your case has been assigned to Mr. Roche. He will begin the interview process with you. Would you please answer his questions, Mr. Roche?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Ms. Johnson. How are you?
Good morning, sir. I'm well. How are you?
Good. Thank you for asking. Ms. Johnson, you are only 32 years old. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. 32 years old.
And you've been convicted of 2 felonies.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what was going on early on that you got involved with the criminal element of the community.
I'm sorry, sir. Would you mind repeating that?
Tell me what was going on in your life that caused you to get involved with the criminal element of the community.
Well, sir, I moved here from Washington State in 2018. I was leaving Seattle, Washington at the time due to a bad relationship. And so I moved down here to be closer to my family and to kind of repair myself. I was doing well at first, but when I arrived here, I arrived with some problems, which of course have resulted in the position I'm in now. I've struggled with drugs for some time, but they haven't really resulted in any legal trouble for me until I was about 30 years old. That being said, I served probation on my first set of charges, completed successfully and early, and was doing well for about a year until some things started happening. My parents and my family left the area, and I was left here by myself. Not that that's in any way their fault, but I kind of drifted off. I had friends that were involved in the criminal world, and unfortunately, I started spending my time with them rather than healthier friends.
I get the picture. I get the picture.
Yes, sir.
Prior to leaving Washington State, you've never been arrested.
No, sir. I'd never been arrested before I was 30 years old.
Your first arrest was in January of 2019 for forgery.
Yes, sir.
And then theft, also then possession of Schedule 2.
Yes, sir.
Theft under $1,000, all on the same day.
Yes, sir.
Then March 11, 2020, you're arrested operating the vehicle intoxicated.
Yes, sir.
Eating in possession of Schedule 2.
Yes, sir.
So basically, you came to Louisiana for one reason, and you got involved with a bad crowd
Yes, sir.
in your at Webster Parish Facility Center now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I get the picture. So let me, you've been incarcerated this time for 17 months, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And you have a 72-month sentence, so you've only served about 25% of your sentence.
Yes, sir.
What really bothers me, is a major concern, is that you were released from incarceration in May of 2020.
Yes, sir.
Second chance,
I was released, well, on the DWI. I was released in March, but,
yeah, but your record says May of 2020.
oh, yes, that's when I completed parole or probation. I'm sorry.
You were released on compliance
Yes, sir.
credits.
Yes, sir.
2 months later, you're arrested again.
Yes, sir.
You're bonded out and you got arrested in September
Yes, sir.
and October.
Yes, sir.
Not out of the system for 2 months.
Yes, sir.
And you're back in.
Yes, sir.
And allowed you to make bond and you committed another crime in another
Yes, sir.
identity theft and another drug charge. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
This time met.
Yes, sir. All of my drug charges have been for meth.
Okay, now, so tell me the programs that you have completed in the last 17 months to help you to solve the problems that you have now.
Unfortunately, sir, I've been to 2 facilities during my 17 months while incarcerated. Neither facility has offered programs for female offenders. That being said, this is the first time I've had to do any significant time incarcerated. And that in itself has been a great form of substance abuse prevention for me. This is not an experience that I would like to repeat.
Ms. Johnson, you are a meth addict
Yes, sir.
and you can't do it by yourself. And incarceration won't do it for you either. You need some formal substance abuse treatment.
Yes, sir.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir. I certainly would say I would benefit from that.
You need that treatment, plus you need to be introduced to the 12-step program.
Yes, sir. AA and NA are certainly options that I'm open to, even in upon my release, whenever that may be.
I think you've gotten to the first step. You have to admit first you're not.
Yes, sir. I would definitely agree with you. I certainly am a drug addict.
And how long will you be a drug addict?
I'm sorry, sir.
For how long will you be a drug addict?
I probably for the rest of my life. Addiction is a lifelong struggle.
Correct answer. So you have to treat it as such for the rest of your life.
Yes, sir.
Now, who's the victim of your identity theft?
It was the wife of one of the people I was running around with. We were just doing some stupid things that we shouldn't have been doing.
Took advantage of a friend.
Yes, sir.
Now, I can continue with this interview, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do because you had a good time date in November of 2022, which is this year.
Yes,
So
sir.
your time date is what? 8 months away.
Yes, sir.
What I need you to do is, I need you to get with your classification officer. I need you to write DOC.
Yes, sir.
You need some substance abuse treatment. You need some help before November.
Yes, sir. I would like to say that I have written DOC multiple times. I've also had my family reach out, trying to get me transferred to a facility that does offer these programs. I've myself written letters to multiple facilities and sent them out trying to get a transfer, and have not, as of yet, been able to do that.
I'm going to ask my staff to submit a recommendation to DOC that you be transferred to some substance abuse treatment.
Yes, sir.
I would be derelict in my duties if I would release you without first trying to help you.
Yes, sir.
Because last time, 2 months and you were back into the system?
Yes, sir. I was
So-
clean for the 14 months that I served probation and was out in the free world. I passed all my drug tests with probation, and
But as soon as you were free, you sort of fell off the wagon.
yes, sir.
You have a history of drug and alcohol abuse. You have victim opposition, proximity of your good time date, and you need some programs. So that would be my recommendation when it gets time for me to vote.
Yes, sir.
I wish you all the luck in the world.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Russia. No. Ms. Johnson, in the 14 months that you were out on probation,
Yes, sir.
how was it that you were able to stay clean and sober?
I had the very close support of my family. They were very heavily involved in my life. I was living with my parents at the time. I was working full time. And
Were you attending meetings?
I'm sorry, sir.
Were you attending AA meetings?
Yes, sir. I was
How often were you attending them?
once a week, sir.
And how did you learn about AA?
I of course heard about AA from I've known about it prior, but my probation officer recommended me to some classes and gave me some addresses of meetings that I might be interested in going to. So I went ahead and took advantage of that. There was a meeting very close to the place I was living at the time. So
With meetings helpful to you?
yes, sir.
Where will you be living if you are released? Mr. Roche indicates that you're going to be out regardless in November. So where will you be living in November?
About a month ago, I submitted a application for interstate compact because after a lot of conversation with my family, we decided together that it would be beneficial perhaps if I moved back home. So I will be living with my brother, Terrence Johnson, who's here to speak today. He's never been in any trouble. He's an upstanding member of the community. I'd be living in my childhood home that I grew up in and lived there before I ever was in any trouble. So
When and how did you get hooked on meth?
I got hooked on meth a few years ago. It was introduced to me by some obviously not so good friends. And
Louisiana, Washington.
I did it my first time in Seattle, Washington, which I want to highlight is not where I would be moving back to. I would be moving on the other side of the state to Spokane, Washington. And then when I got to Louisiana, my use certainly increased.
Ms. Johnson, it appears obvious, I think, to all of us here. We certainly want to hear from your mom and dad and your brother. But it appears obvious to all of us here that you probably will be in jail for a little longer and probably not get out until November. But I'm going to encourage you in that period of time to do whatever you can to learn more about the 12 steps and as much information as you possibly can gather. Meth is a horrible addiction, and it's something that you need to be treated with. So thank you very much for your honesty. I appreciate
Yes, sir.
all of your comments. We're now going to hear from your family. We'll begin with your mom, Ms. Stephanie Johnson. Ms. Johnson, if you would please Introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to know about your daughter.
My name's Stephanie Johnson. Obviously, I'm Alexandria's mother. I just have a statement that I wrote that I'd like to read.
Right.
The day I heard that my daughter had been arrested and was in jail, my immediate response was a sense of overwhelming relief. In many ways, while I never prepared for it, I was resigned to a tragic outcome for her, and so I was relieved. I was relieved as I was terrified of the path she was on. I was relieved to know that despite the fact jail is not what I wanted for her, I knew she was safe, sheltered, and fed, and I could sleep at night knowing where she was and that she was not in danger. At that time and every day since, my prayer for her has been that the time she would spend incarcerated would be long enough for her to remember who she was and where she came from, long enough to re-inspire her to be her best self, the person her father and I knew she was and could be, long enough to reignite in her a willingness to do the work, dream, set goals, make plans, and take the steps to live a peace-filled, productive life that she could be proud of. At the time, I did not know what she would have to do or say for me to know that it had been long enough, but I believed that somehow I would know. I knew I would need to see the tangible, those quantifiable things that I could point to and say, she did this. But maybe more importantly, I needed to see the intangible, those things that don't allow you to point to an event or an accomplishment or a box checked, but are only seen when real change has happened. I have been very cautious and at times even skeptical in my assessment of her, as the price of being wrong is too high a price to pay. During her time in jail, I have spoken to Alexandria with few exceptions daily. I have had the opportunity to live this experience with her and witness her journey. So it is with that I am confident in saying that the person that sits before you today is not the person that entered jail many months ago. Alexandria has taken many tangible steps to prepare her for success beyond this. She has actively pursued the ability to have greater access to resources and educational opportunities. She has established a savings account for herself to provide for those things she knows she will need immediately. She has enthusiastically reached out to people in her family to make amends and to rebuild those relationships. She has identified career goals and made a plan to achieve those goals. She has arranged for a place to live and has a plan for finding a job. However, equally as important, today Alexandria is a person who truly desires to achieve a life she can be proud of. She has matured significantly. And while there is a seriousness to her that I haven't seen in a long time, she is happy. She freely acknowledges that she did this to herself. She blames no one and makes no excuses. While she is excited for a life after this, she gracefully accepts her time in jail as the consequence for her actions. She readily seeks to repair relationships with those she has hurt. She values her family. She is compassionate and loving and interested in others. She is appreciative for the love and support she receives. She expresses remorse and regret, but she is not defeated. Despite her circumstances and her desire to move on from here, there is a sense of peace in her. Daily, she demonstrates perseverance, humility, grace, and courage. For the first time in a very long time, I can say I am proud of who my daughter is today. I am hopeful for her tomorrows, and I believe it has been long enough.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. Well said. Mr. Troy Johnson, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes, sir, there is. I too prepared something this morning after prayer. The young lady that you have before you today is not someone that any of you know, though I'm certain you have had to evaluate many that are like her. For those of us that do know her and love her, at times guardedly, when Alexandria was taken into custody, we felt a sense of relief as we believed she would be safe and free of her drug addiction. What we didn't have the courage to believe is that she might also be saved. A year and a half without drugs and without freedom has given her the time she needed to find herself again and realize that life has been slowly ticking away. And for the first time, she didn't blame others for her situation. She accepted that her choices and her failings were indeed hers and hers alone. We, her family, have hoped and prayed for that and have bore witness to that every day through constant communication. Does she deserve further punishment for her crimes? That's for you to decide. That's not up to us. The rehabilitation of a young lady, our young lady, has indeed happened. I say this as someone that's watched her for 33 years. That life giving her mother and I will be eternally grateful for. We speak with her every single day that she has been in your custody. What we hear from her is someone who we know that is here to rebuild the relationships in her life that she has abused up to this point in the life that she neglected. She no longer says what she thinks others want to hear. She says what is true. Alexandria has indeed changed. That is evident to all of us who know her. We are ready for her to be returned to us and grateful that for once the system has actually worked for our family.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Terrence Johnson, tell us, would you please introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to know about your sister?
Yes. Hi, I'm Terrence Johnson. I am Alexandria's brother. As my mom had previously said, I am one of those relationships that my sister has been rebuilding. I have all been for a very long time now my sister's greatest critic, more than anyone I would argue in her life. And truth is, my sister, she is a very good person. She has a well-meaning heart. But drugs have been her downfall, obviously, and they have been what has kept her down throughout this time in her life. And with that in mind, if she is to be released in the near future, I have looked into church programs and counseling in our local area for us to go to. I would be attending with her just as a support, and I would be holding her accountable because I truly want her to succeed and I want her to flourish and give back to her community and give back to the people in her life. That is all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. We appreciate your comments. Ms. Johnson, Ms. Alexandria.
Yeah, sure. I have a few questions for the Johnson family. Would you please unmute your mic, Mrs. Johnson and Terrence Johnson? Is it possible that you have room in your budget for a long-term inpatient substance abuse program when your daughter is released? Mrs. Johnson?
I'm sorry. I thought you were asking her. My hearing's not okay. I've been in construction all my life.
I'm going to repeat my question.
Okay.
Is it possible that you might have room in your budget for a long-term inpatient substance abuse treatment program for Alexandria when she's released?
Of course, I would sell or do whatever I had to do if it's going to help my daughter. So, yeah, obviously, we would come up with whatever resources were needed to truly help Alexandria. There's no price I wouldn't pay for that.
Okay, because they get expensive.
Excuse me?
They can get very expensive.
I know. I will do what need be done. Our daughter's life is, we've put not only financial resources, but every emotional and time, everything, irreplaceable things into her. And so there's no way I'm stopping at this point. I'm halfway home or 3/4 of the way home. I'm not stopping.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call for executive session.
Okay. Ladies and there's been a motion for executive session. Mr. Freeman, do you second that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please call the vote.
Mr. Roche,
Yes.
Mr. Marabella,
Yes.
and Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a vote to go into executive session. We will now adjourn for a few moments to go into executive session to discuss confidential matters. We will return in just a few moments.
Well,
I want to.
Ms. Johnson, this is your opportunity to tell the board anything you'd like to tell us before we vote, please. I think you're on mute, Ms. Johnson. If y'all can unmute her microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, like my parents, I prepared a statement that I'd like to read to you. If I'd been called to stand before you when I was picked up 1.5 years ago, you would have met a very different person than the one standing here today. You would have met someone who was lost and aimless. She would have stood here and told you any story she could think of that might convince you to let her go. And she would have been here alone, without anybody willing to speak up in support of her. I am ashamed and embarrassed of having been that person. I stand here today as a woman who is proud of who I am becoming and the changes I've worked so hard to make. I have goals for maybe the first time in my life. I have plans for my future, including school and a career. And most importantly, I have my family's support, respect, and trust, as is evident by their stepping up for me here today and speaking on my behalf. I can tell you with certainty this would not have been the case 1.5 years ago. I have spent my time since being incarcerated working hard on myself and repairing my relationship with my family. I've built a support system with them that I can count on, and I truly feel that I am ready to begin my new life. I genuinely appreciate having the opportunity to speak with you today and being given a chance for consideration for early parole. And I want you to know, and my supporters here today to know, that regardless of the outcome of this hearing, I stand before you proud of the changes I've made, and I will never again be the person I was before.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. We appreciate you. Is this panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Roche?
Ms. Johnson,
Yes, sir.
contrary to the majority of people in Louisiana who thinks the parole board is someone who decides whether you're gonna stay in or stay out of the facility, we're here to protect the general public. We're here also to assist the offender in any way we can. We don't like denying people, but we deny because they're not ready to be released. In your case, you're going to be released in November, whether we vote to deny or grant your early release.
Yes, sir.
And if you, probably there's a 90% chance if we deny you today, you won't get the help you need by November. And that would be a travesty. So, as your parents were talking, and your enforcer was talking, and I'm referring to Terrence, is he's going to enforce the rules.
Yes, sir.
I came up with the idea that I would grant you to an approved interstate compact to Washington State only. That means the interstate compact that you applied for has to be approved for this to work. Okay, so that's the first hurdle.
Yes, sir.
And you've applied already, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just signed paperwork 2 days ago and they've sent it to Washington State.
Okay, so you'll have to wait until that paperwork is approved.
Yes, sir.
Once it's approved, and it's after April 2nd, which is your parole date,
Yes, sir.
then you'll be released. But if it's approved before April 2nd, you'll have to wait till April 2nd to be released.
Yes, sir.
Once you're released, I'm gonna require that you enroll and complete a long-term inpatient substance abuse treatment program. Your parents can check with the state of Washington. They may have a program that would not cost an arm and a leg. Or if your insurance, or if your parents' insurance covers you, the insurance may cover some parts of that substance abuse program. But you must complete that program. Once you complete that program, you have to attend at least 3 NAAA meetings a week. You'll have random drug screens. You'll have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I want you to do some community service
Yes, sir.
related to drugs. I want you to talk to groups or individuals on what drugs can do to your life.
Yes, sir.
Now, I think this would be therapy for you also. I wish you all the luck in the world, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Mr. Freeman?
I also am going to vote to grant. I don't think there's no way we're going to get you in a substance abuse program before November. You do need substance abuse. I would advise your family, there are some free ones out there, and Washington may be better than Louisiana. We don't have one that I know of that's free. And get you into one of those programs. And you are very lucky to have the people that are standing behind you today. Because for them, we probably would not have granted this parole, but we believe they're going to give you the support that you need. And also, I'm going to check with probation and parole and see if I can rush up that interstate compact, because usually it can take up to 90 days. So I'm going to go talk to some of my friends up there and see if we can.
Sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Ms. Johnson and family, I've listened very intently to what you all had to say. And I truly understand and see the love your mom and dad have for you, the love your brother has for you, and probably why y'all have been estranged over the last several years. But I want to tell you where I'm coming from. I'm a retired judge. I sat and presided over a drug court for 14 years. I have seen people who thought they had their problem licked and not do it. There's no doubt in my mind, as your family said, you're a good person. I believe that. But you have a disease, and that disease is not going to go away. It's going to stay with you forever. You are a drug addict, and you will have a fight every day of your life to stay sober.
Yes, sir.
I've seen people in my drug court right where you are. And I'm pleased to say the majority of them are working, have wonderful families, and never been in trouble before. But I'm sad to say I've been to a number of funerals too, because they couldn't stay off of drugs. It's a constant fight. You're going to be getting out in November. I think Mr. Roche's suggestion is a wonderful suggestion for you to try to get into some drug treatment. I'm going to suggest that you really apply yourself and really learn what you need to do. Learn about the meetings. Know that those meetings are something that you're going to have to do for the rest of your life. Go to those meetings when times are good. It's not just when times are bad, but when times are good, all the time. Go to those meetings on a regular basis. I have personal friends who are alcoholics, drug addicts, and some of them have been sober for 20 and 25 years. They go to meetings regularly. That's what keeps them sober and it keeps them going. You have a disease. It's like cancer. You can treat it, and you're in remission, but you have to work daily. You've got wonderful support. I wish you nothing but the best. But I just felt in my heart, I had to say that to you and your family to make sure that you understand how serious this is. This is a life and death matter. My vote is likewise to grant under the same conditions as outlined by Mr. Roche. Good luck to you, and I hope 5 years from now I run into you somewhere and you say, you know, let me tell you what I'm doing and how I'm doing. So good luck to you.
Yes, sir. Make your way to Washington. We'll have that conversation.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
We will, the time is 10:48. We will close out at Webster. Thank the staff very much for all your help today.
You're
We
very
will close
welcome.
out. Adjourn.
Well, that was interesting. Call me. I don't know what it was, but I still don't know how long her sentence was. If I thought I was paying attention, but maybe they didn't mention it, how many years her total sentence was. But so I guess I kind of have a mute point there. I thought, we're going to compare it to what he had done and to what she had done. But it's certainly, I guess the other takeaways is, it just shows how, addiction just simply does not discriminate. It doesn't care who you are, how beautiful your family is. I mean, she started at 30 years old. Think about that. And it just destroyed everything. It's pretty remarkable. And it's just, she is so lucky to have that family. And it was also a beautiful thing to see how Mr. Roche and the board handled this case. They really did it with love and care. And they put their family, her father, on the spot there. And you could tell it wasn't an easy thing for him to say, but he took it seriously. He didn't just say, sure, I can do it. It was, first he looked kind of like in shock, and I thought, oh no, is he going to say no? But it was like, I guess, a mic issue, or he wasn't, but he said they'll do what they have to do. And he said they've been through so much so far, and man, I do hope that we don't see her again. That's for sure. But overall, I did like how they handled this case and how they took the attention and the time to talk about it and to, I think, feel like they were doing the right thing. And that's special. It's so special to see here, and I do like this board setup. Mr. Mirabella, Mr. O'Shea, Mr. Pete Freeman. It's a nice mix, and man, I think it's like showing, just keeping her locked up. What would it have done? But they're trying to help to really set it up for success, and I love that. So let's do another hearing.
3366.
Hi, Robert. My name is Brendan Kelsey. Along with me is Mr. Roche and Ms. Wise will be your panel. I'll explain the process to you. We'll read some information to the record, have a parole interview, ask you some questions. You can respond at the end. You can make a statement. We'll vote. Does that sound good?
Yes, sir.
Robert Washington, DOC number 403366. You're a fourth class offender. Parole eligibility date 4/5/2024. Not eligible for good time. Full term 4/2/2013. 99-year sentence, armed robbery. You're a habitual offender. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. How old are you, sir?
34. About to be 35.
I don't think you're that young. When's your birthday?
I mean, I'm tripping. My mind. So I'm forgiven. I've been out there talking to brothers. Been doing my little thing as a mentor at that time, but my mind got stuck on something else I was talking about earlier. I'm 45. I'm sorry.
45, gonna be 46.
That's right. My mind went somewhere. I'm sorry.
And how many years have you been incarcerated?
20 years. I've been locked up ever since 2004.
How many years?
About 21 years, something like that. 2021.
And so and there's a lot of questions I could ask you. I've gone over your file significantly. I'm just need to find out about your disciplinary write-ups. What you got so many disciplinary write-ups for? I mean, in the last, let's see. You're right here in front of me, 21. You got a 21E, which we all know what that is. That ain't no good. You got a 28, 11. You got a 30, you got a 3 and a 5, you got a 1, a 21F, all from 2019 all the way to 2021. What's up with you?
I actually was stumbling. I would not lie to you. I actually was stumbling, trying to find my way. I was going through a lot of things with my family members on my situation in this case, trying to adapt to this facility. I just was stumbling. I was trying to find my way, get myself back together, get my mind right. I just was stumbling.
Well, that's kind of, look, I mean, as long as you've been down, for me, that's going to be a problem for me. I'm not going to be able to support you today. It seems like if you keep going on track to stay out of some trouble, I would, maybe consider it at a later date, but it's going to be hard for me, especially with you, with the nature of your crime, with how long you've been down, with, you know better than that. It looks like you had a high school, you graduated from high school, so your high school diploma looked like you had a little bit of college too. I mean, you just, I think that you definitely know better. I see you try to take some classes and do right, but you got to get that disciplinary under control. Warden, you got any input for me?
No, I really don't have anything at this point to add, Mr. Gill.
Thank you. All right, Robert, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Yes, sir. Actually, I was doing things that I'm not proud of, but I have been changing my conduct. I have been lining up, trying to stay focused, trying to show others you can do the same thing. I have took the moral compass. I'm a mentor. I don't get paid for the things that I do. I'm a layman counsel. I go around. I do community service at the camp. I try to help everyone the best I can. I sit there to think every morning, what can I do to stay focused, to show others they can do the same thing? I don't know nothing else but to try to do what's better to get me out of the situation that landed me in the situation. I can only just try to change my perspective of life. Look at things in a better perspective. I learned how to walk away from a lot of confrontation. I learned how to communicate with better sense with people. I actually feel that I can be that person, or I just don't want to do wrong no more. I just want to just walk right. I just try my best to keep focused. So I do not slide back, do not get any kind of confrontation with the officers. Try to mend anything that's possibly I could to diffuse situation in them cell blocks with them brothers when we used to mentor down there, and to
link them with the officers because they used to get the officer upset to try to explain what's going on with them, and they upset, and they try. It's just so much stuff that I be trying myself to put myself in that place to defuse it because I know where to lead to. My situation of catching them right up, like I say, I was struggling to fence at that time.
Right. Look, I understand. Sounds like you're again heading in the right directions. Are you a trustee?
I was at one time. I was a Class A trustee.
Yeah. So look, but today I'm not. Again, my vote today is going to be to deny your parole. I think you head in the right direction. I think you need to try to stay out of trouble, work hard to get your trustee status back, all those things, and then maybe to be a little different for me next time you came up in front of me. But for today, due to law enforcement opposition, you have the institutional disciplinary problems you need to get taken care of. Take some more classes. My vote today is to deny your parole, but encourage you to keep moving forward, keep stepping forward, wake up every day and try to do the best you can. And maybe it'll be different next time you see me. Mr. Roche.
Excuse me, Mr. Kelsey. Thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My vote is the same for the same reasons. You need to get into more programs, and you need to stop getting disciplinary write-ups, and maybe it'll be different next time.
All right, Ms. Wise.
Sir, I really appreciate the things that you've said today. You do have a good institutional record. They stated that you're no problem, you're meeting expectations, you're not a security risk. So that staff is seeing the turn that you've made. But for me and for this board to go out and to vote for you, we just need a little bit more time right up for you. You're on the right path. I want to encourage you to stay on the right path and reapply as soon as you're eligible for another hearing. But my vote is to deny as well. Best wishes to you.
All right, 3 votes to deny today. Your parole's been denied. Good luck to you. And it's 1:13, and we'll adjourn Wednesday, October 18th. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you.
Well, that was certainly a quick hearing, but yeah, they just don't like all those write-ups. That's kind of what it will happen. But it started off bad and it ended bad as far as he was concerned. But the 21E, and thank you, Jen, for sending me the Angola handbook. 21E, which he has me, is obscenity. Is a sex offense. No offender shall deliberately expose the genital organs and/or do your deed in view of staff or non-incarcerated persons. So he was busted doing it in front of staff or someone not incarcerated. Then he had 30, 11, and 5. So 30 would be general probation's behaviors which impair, threaten security or ability. So it didn't say, he didn't say which 30 it was, but it's not a good write-up to have. Impair, threaten the security, stability of the unit, well-being of an employee, visitor, guest, offender, families. Then there's 11 and 5, which is what I had picked up on. Where is it? Am I missing it? Did I skip over where I was supposed to be here? Dum 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 dum. Maybe this is 11? Fighting. Guessing it's fighting. And 5 would be disobedience, aggravated. So not good stuff. And then also he has, Richard had sent me his cases, and he's got a long rap sheet. I mean, he's got life in prison, they said, right? So, but because of Act 122, he has the opportunity for parole, meaning that he served, I think, more than 20 years, and he's above the age of 40. So he definitely wouldn't want to make himself younger. 7 counts of armed robbery, several different locations, tried by judge in only 4 counts. During the trial, the state chose to submit decision to counts 1 and 2. It goes on to the details of all of the crimes. And it's just long, and I just don't know if it makes sense to go over it right now. But I'll put the link in the description if you do want to go over it. And we can do another short hearing.
Roche will be your panel. We'll have a parole interview, ask you some questions. You can respond. At the end, you can make a statement. We'll take a vote. You understand the process?
So far, yes.
All right, John Evanson, DOC number 70014, second class offender, parole eligibility date 2/7/2023, no good time, full term life. Simple burglary, first degree rape, and murder. Does that sound correct?
So far, yes.
First degree murder, aggravated rape. Does that sound correct?
Is that
Yes.
correct, John?
First degree murder.
Yeah, first degree
aggravated
murder and aggravated rape.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right, how old are you, Mr. Evanson?
I'm 79 years old.
And how many years have you been incarcerated?
53 years.
Been in for 53 years. Tell me what, have you been in and out of the hospital some?
Occasionally I've been in the hospital, yes.
Okay, I see you're in a wheelchair. Can you walk?
No, I have degenerative arthritis in my knees and my hips.
Okay. What do you do around there?
I have no duty. I do nothing around except try to help other inmates.
I got you. Well, tell me, let's go ahead and we'll cut to the chase here. Tell me about your disciplines. You got some write-ups I'm kind of concerned about. Tell me what that's all about. You got, of course, you've had 133 write-ups, but you had an 11 in 2022, which is aggravated fighting. You had 3, 5, and a 26 in 2022. You had a 5 and a 26 in 21. You had 5, a 3, and 5 and a 3, a 5 and a 26, 21. What's going on with you?
I obey authority. I don't appreciate other inmates trying to tell me what to do. Because they're inmates just like I am.
So you that's causing you to just to fight and have some aggravation and some disobedience. That sounds like that's disobedience towards the staff.
I have disobedience toward the staff at times, yes.
Well, you hadn't been in there long enough to maybe think that if you acted right, you'd maybe get out one day.
Well, having a life sentence, I never considered getting out after they done away with the 10-6 law under which I was sentenced.
And you hadn't taken any programs or anything, I'm sure, huh?
I've taken AA, but that was back in the late 70s and early 80s. Right now,
go ahead.
Right now, I'm going to 100 hours.
Okay. Well, at least you try to take some classes. I mean, it's never too late. It's always time to make yourself better, no matter where you are. If you're in there or out here or whatever, had you been taking a lot of classes and doing some things, you probably would have been in a better spot for me, but I'm not going to be able to support you today. Warden, do you have any input for us?
He came to us in 18 to the infirmary, to our treatment center for medical. Been no duty since then and is currently on Ash 2, which is on one of our assisted. He was on Ash 2 and now he's in Bear 1, but that's been between our assisted living dorms, and Bear 1 right now is a handicap accessible dorm because of his wheelchair. He's been max up until 6 of 22. But again, like I said, we're dealing with unfortunately, he's got a few write-ups with us since he's been here in 18.
All right, thank you. Would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
I got one question.
Oh, wait, Mrs. Pearl has a question for you.
Mr. Edmondson, I see you in the Vets Club. Tell us about your military service.
I was in the military 1960 to 1962.
Tonight,
I was in the United States. I was in the United States.
1960 to 1962.
Yes, ma'am.
What branch did you serve in?
I served in the United States Navy,
I thank you for your service, sir.
Mobile Construction Battalion, better known as. They gave me general discharge under honorable conditions because I had went to court.
What?
You went to court.
Yeah. Several charges. One of them being petty larceny, the other being AWL.
Okay.
All right, sir.
All right.
Would
Would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
I was sentenced under the 10-6 law, and before my parole eligibility date was came up, the 10-6 law was taken out of books, and I wound up. The last sentence was no parole in the long run. Not figuring that they would reinstate the 10-6 law, I didn't make any efforts to speak up to really help myself get better. Only after that I done was start attending church and trying to serve God. I have family out there in Arkansas. I have family in Lake Charles. I have friends there in Monroe, Louisiana. He's also like a brother to me. He's ex-military himself. He said he would give me a place to stay and help me to go around to the different places I need to go.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Sounds like you got some people there. Okay. Well, again, I think if you try to get on the right track there, don't have any discipline, let's keep, get some programs and maybe, you'd have an opportunity a little later on. But for today, to me, due to the write-up, law enforcement opposition, nature of the crime, my vote is to deny your parole. Mr. Roche?
Mr. Chairman, my vote is the same for the same reasons.
Ms. Pearl?
Mr. Edmondson, let me encourage you off the top to reapply when you're eligible for another hearing. But get some letters from the people who say they're gonna help you, have them to mail that in, whoever you're gonna stay with, start getting your release plan together. And of course, start doing what they ask you to do, stop getting write-ups and reapply when you're eligible. I'm just hopeful for you, but my vote is denied today too because of, what you've been doing. But I want to encourage you to reapply and have a plan in place. Best wishes to you, sir.
Your 3 votes to deny today. Your parole's been denied. Good luck to you.
I gotta tell you, there's something oddly refreshing about his honesty. I mean, he was just an open book. I mean, what he did was so awful. I don't, they read it out like 3 times, like as if we had to hear it in another time. But he's like, yeah, I don't like people telling me what to do. Then he brings up that he was in the Army. He brings up that he was, I think, dishonorably discharged. He went AWOL, plus he had theft. I mean, the guy is, I guess, the definition of antisocial and what's the word I'm looking for? He's just, I don't think, imagine if he even got out, he'd be He'd be like the guy at a Shawshank Redemption. He wouldn't know how to get by. He served 53 years. He's basically his whole life locked up. And you know what he was talking about, the 10-6 law. So the 10-6 law was another one of those really sketchy Louisiana classic things. So they were basically anyone who did bad, somewhat bad, they were offering people a deal. 10 years and 6 months is what you would serve. So they'd give you a life sentence, but you would only serve 10 years, 6 months and and get out on parole. And they were handing out those sentences like candy. And then after a certain year, they just changed the law. They said, no, anyone who signed the 10-6 deal, we change our mind. And you have a lot of people who signed the 10-6 deal and then ended up finding themselves life without parole. And we have seen a few cases where one of them in particular, where he insists, even at the day of his parole hearing 40 years later, that he was 100% innocent. And he knew that you can't say that, but he's sticking to it. One of the few that I do believe were absolutely innocent of their crime. If I can remember, I'll put the link at the end here. But I also have a playlist called Innocent, so you can check the playlist. You'll see it there. There's only like 3 in the playlist, and only one that I'm pretty certain is definitely innocent. But that's Louisiana for you. They would sign deals and then just change their mind and throw it out. And Louisiana has been known for being corrupt, and there's a reason for it. It's not made out of thin air. When you sign a deal, regardless of whether you're rooting for the guy or not, a contract should be a contract. You can't just change your mind. But they did do that. But this guy, he had every opportunity. Now he has a chance for parole because of the Act 122. But he even would have had a right to, I believe, have a hearing if he had filed the paperwork. Because of the 10-6 law, they realized that it was completely illegal to void a contract, and they allowed people to have parole hearings after that. Okay, let's do one more hearing. It will be a revocation hearing, and it's a format I haven't seen before. It takes place in 2021. It's quite interesting. Let's go for it.
Department of Corrections number 383415.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. You're here for a revocation hearing this morning because you've been accused of violating the conditions of your supervision. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Let me introduce the panel to you. My name is Alvin Roche. We have Ms. Pearl Wise and Mr. Anthony Marabella.
Yes, sir.
Superimposed on the screen, you have a copy of the questionnaire. Is that your signature dated November 13th, 2020?
Yes, sir, it is.
Well, November 19th, 2020. Is all the information on that questionnaire correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and let me get to the next screen. You're here this morning, Mr. Handy, because you have been accused of violating conditions of your supervision. I'm going to read the charges, and you have an option to plead guilty, guilty with a statement, not guilty, not guilty with a statement. Do you understand?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. First of all, did you have an attorney at your preliminary hearing?
No, sir.
Did you request one today?
No, sir.
Okay. The conditions that you've been accused of violating, condition number 2, on November 21st, 2019, the subject missed his scheduled office visit. How do you plead?
Well, guilty with a statement, sir.
Thank you. Now I'm going to break down condition number 4 because there's several charges, and I'm going to break it down and you can plead to the individual charges. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. With permission of the board, I just wish to waive the reading of all the violations and just wish to plead guilty with a statement on all violations.
Is that your wish?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're going to start with your statement on condition number 2. You missed your office visit.
Yes, sir. I missed my scheduled office visit.
Yes.
I have no reason why I missed the office visit. I just simply forgot that day.
And that's the same thing you said at the preliminary hearing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Charge number 4. You violated condition number 4, which is criminal activity. You arrested 7 times between November of 2019 and October of 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And give us your statement.
To be honest with the board, just plain and simple, I had alcohol and drug habit. I've been alcoholic and drug addict for numerous years, sir. And I don't know if you all received the letter. I wrote a letter to the parole board.
Yes.
Yes, sir. And I don't have, anything else to say that I truly admit that I am an alcoholic and drug addict. And I've been so for numerous years. And I did good when I was first released for my last violation. I did good for 2 months. Doing good, trying to take care of my mother and everything. And one evening after work, I wound up getting a drink and fell off again.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Andy, I think you know you have a problem. All you need is some help. Condition number 8, you missed your sex offender treatment classes.
Guilty with a statement.
Your statement.
The reason why I missed, because when I first enrolled in the program, they explained to us that we have to have the money for the program. If we're unable to pay, they say, just don't show up, but you have to have the money for the program. And my mother was helping me a lot when I lost my job to pay for the classes. And then she was struggling because they cut her time and everything. And I was just working odds and ends jobs every now and then, going, pick up junk with a friend of mine every now and then. So when I had the money, I paid and went. And when I did, I just didn't go. Because they told us without the money, you can't take the class. But that's the only reason why I skipped those classes.
In condition number 10, you were $821 in arrears, and same explanation, you just didn't have the money to pay your fees. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The money I had, like I said, to be truthful with you all, with the alcohol and drugs, and try to get my mother their money, whatever I could.
Mr. Handy, I appreciate your honesty. I really do appreciate your honesty. You know you have a problem, and you are begging for help, and hopefully you'll get the help that you need during this period of incarceration. Ms. Wise.
I have no questions.
Mr. Marabella.
Have you ever had any treatment before?
Yes, sir, I have.
Where did you have treatment?
At the Plaquemine Parish Detention Center through the reentry program. We took classes through there.
And did it take for a while?
Yes, sir, it really did, and it felt good. Like, for example, like when I got paid when I was on my job, it felt good to have that type of money in my pocket, and I actually walked to the post office on my own with that type of money in my pocket, and we got a money order, you know, to pay my first month parole supervision fee. And I made a mistake on the money order. Then I had to turn around and walk back to the post office again. You know, and I've actually said to myself, well, I couldn't believe I did that with that type of money in my pocket twice and walked back to the parole office to pay them. So, you know, I felt good about it, doing good like that.
Mr. Handy, we want you to be able to feel good about yourself like that all the time when you get out. But you got a problem. You've been very, very honest with us, and I sure do appreciate that. And we're going to try to help you get some help. So thank you for your honesty.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Mr. Handy, would you like to make a brief statement before we vote?
Not being sarcastic, I just simply just throw myself at the mercy of the board and thank you all for being understanding. Yeah.
Thank you. Would the staff at Arlene's come forward?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any programs available at your facility to aid in substance abuse and alcohol abuse?
Not that I know of, sir.
Thank you. Regardless of the decision today, Mr. Handy, this board will do all it can to see that you get in a location where you can get the help that you so desperately want. And you want that good feeling of being a productive member of society. And you want that, and we'll do our best to get you to a place. But you do understand, because of the COVID virus, it's kind of difficult to transfer you at this present time. But we will make a recommendation to our staff as soon as something becomes available. We will try to get you to that place as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Ms. Wise?
Mr. Handy, you went to Blue Walters in 2000. Do you remember?
Yes, ma'am. That was only for like about 3 days, I believe, because they didn't know that they didn't get a decision on a disciplinary report that I had.
Oh,
and I wasn't supposed to be there. So they
I see that. I see
prison.
that. Yeah, I didn't look down for it enough, but you're right. I see that. It was 3 days. I do see that. And you're the father of 6 children, so that's very concerning. Very, very concerning. Very concerning. Unfortunately, sir, and also let me say this before I run up my decision, is that you had did you tell your parole officer that you needed treatment?
Well,
Yes
I was
or no?
already,
Yes or no? Yes or no?
no, ma'am. I was going to
Yeah.
treatment on my own.
Yeah, you should have told your parole officer, because when they gave you those 90 days, they could have, they could have done something different. They had some different options on the streets than that we have right now with the COVID requirement. That's unfortunate. So going in the future, should you relapse again, let your officer know. Let your officer know. Get somebody on your team to help you. But today, sir, because of your guilty plea, my vote is that your supervision be revoked. And I strongly recommend the Department of Corrections, as soon as it's COVID-19 feasible, they get you in a long-term substance abuse treatment program. And you sit on the front row, you pay attention, you get it. You got 6 children. It's looking up to you. But that is my vote, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. Mr. Marabella?
Mr. Handy, I agree with Ms. Wise. We want you to get some treatment. I want you to get that feeling of accomplishment and feeling good about yourself and sober. I hope we can get you in a long-term facility. I'm sorry that you couldn't finish or at least even start that Blue Altars program. That would have been a great program for you. But it would be my vote is the same as Ms. Wise. So good luck to you.
Mr. Handy, because of your guilty pleas to all charges, my decision is to revoke your supervision. You have received 3 votes to revoke your supervision. Your supervision has been revoked, but DOC, the staff of the Pardon and Parole Board and the board itself will do all it can to see that you transfer to a location where you can get some treatment as soon as feasible. That concludes this hearing.
Could I just make one more statement? Could I request that I be transferred to the Plaquemine Parish reentry program with the substance abuse program?
Sir, those decisions are not board decisions. Those decisions belong to DOC.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
That concludes the hearings at Orleans Parish Jail.
I gotta tell you, I don't think it's cool that they have hearings in front of other inmates while they are watching. That is just, I mean, hey, I guess you could say it's cool if, depending on who's asking, but overall, it just doesn't seem right. Maybe that's why he said, let me just plead guilty to everything without making a statement so they wouldn't have to go over it all. Or it could be he's just been through this so many times. He's experienced, I'm not quite sure, but never seen anyone do that before. Just say blanket, plead guilty with the statement. Could be he's done this a whole lot of times. Now I'm going to share something with you. So yeah, if you want to know, he is out. He is out by now. I'm looking at his registration, and the act that he was convicted of in 2001, contributing to the delinquency of a juvenile performing sexually immoral acts. Of course, we don't have any more details than that, but something I'm going to share, which are provided, is I just want to share the insanity of, I think, of Louisiana and how their legislation is written for the way that they view children versus like the distribution of narcotics. And this is just an article. This is on 2 people. So it's on the person we just saw, but it's on someone else as well. The first article is about a different man. Now, in this article, this man was sentenced 7 years for cruelty charges to a child and 30 years for his drug charges. So I just want to say the point. For what he did to the child, and we'll get into it, it was a 7-year sentence, but for the drugs, 30 years. What he had done to his child is that he burned his 9-year-old daughter intentionally in a bathtub. His daughter said that he forced her to sit in a scalding hot bathtub after she got a problem wrong on her homework. Doctors said she suffered burns on the bottom of her feet and her buttocks. The injuries were so severe that she spent weeks in the burn center because she got a problem wrong in her homework. And they wanted to give him 7 years for that. Make it make sense, Louisiana. Make it make sense. The girl gave investigators, remember, this is a different man. This is not who we just saw. The girl gave investigators different accounts as to whether she spoke with her father about the injuries the next morning. And then his girlfriend told the jury that she never heard any screaming. Oh, there was nothing wrong. She defended him. And there was just an appeal because there was problems in the courtroom. There's a 13th juror that was in the room and it shouldn't have been. And they had to, because of this problems, they had to, and the jury convicted cop of second-degree cruelty to juvenile of 10-2 votes. How do you have a 10-2 vote? The kid is in the burn unit for weeks. Some juries are just insane. This is our friend Handy here. It's attempted possession with intent to distribute, second offense, Louisiana habitual offender, arrested 30 years in prison for distribution. He appealed his conviction. Attorney argued it would be impossible to determine whether his selection was fair. So this is the criminal district court judge, Benedict Chambers, because her computer crashed. The appeal court said an opinion written, blah, blah, blah. So there was a rehearing, but yeah, that's what they do. You burn your kid, send them into a burn ward, little slap on the wrist, but possession intended to distribute 30 years. And that's just, we have a broken system. There's nothing more you can say about that. But thank you for being here for the past hour and 40 minutes. Hopefully we learned something today. There's some cases I felt good about, some that just got me enraged, and that's typically what it is. These Louisiana parole hearings, but I'll see you tomorrow. And with that, I'll let you go.